And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We're on episode 89. I didn't fuck up my intro this week.
Hey.
Little miracles.
It's only been 89 times so far.
Hey, no, but last week in episode 88, I completely forgot to count in. I forgot the episode number. But here we are. So we're on topics. Blue has something to start us off with. I've got another one, and in case those don't take us the whole way, I've got another one. He's got another one in reserve for topic number 3. Quickly before we get in, want to say that in segment 3, our wild card this week, we have a guest coming on. One of Blue's friends, from his D&D group, and recent Sea of Thieves partner.
Oh, we could talk about D&D with them. I didn't even think about that.
That's a I got D&D. Well, I'll have just done a D&D session when we record that. So, and for scheduling reasons, we're recording these 2 segments at different times a day. So
Yeah.
just be aware. But go.
Yeah. So also, before I start mine, Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
Indeed, Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. I just got off the phone with my dad, who went to see the U.S. Open yesterday. One of his friends got tickets to it. Big golf tournament.
Mine's making me walk the dog after this podcast. Thanks, Dad. Right, but no, so... the big news topic that's been going around gaming recently has been all about Diablo Immortal, or as people have popularly began calling it, Diablo Immoral. Owing to the incredibly cash-grabby progression that you get throughout the game.
And just for those that don't know, a little piece of internet history, a little fairly famous piece of internet history. When this game was announced at BlizzCon, they go out and they're like, "Oh, we're making this Diablo Immortal game for phones," and they announced it. And one of the first questions was this very unhappy man who went, "I have one question. Is this not a season April Fool's joke?" And like everyone in the audience clapped, and they awkwardly on stage, they're just like, and one of the guys just goes, What? You guys don't have phones? Or don't you guys have phones? Something like that. But it was, it quickly that's the only reason I know.
A lot of famous lines came out of about 10 minutes.
Yeah. But is it out for, hold on, is it out for PC now, or is it just...
It is out for PC, yes.
Oh, okay. Something they said would never happen.
Yeah, well, they tried to meet halfway, I guess. I mean, it is a kind of, I guess, some kind of practice to start expectations low, and then you can only get better, so people can only celebrate your updates.
Yeah.
But there you go. Your face cam is paused on a very quizzical moment in time. That's great.
Yeah, I'm sorry, my camera froze, so you're going to have to stare at the OBS symbol for a little bit.
No, it's your face being like... It's great. So, yes, the sources that I've been seeing it from are primarily Asmongold, Josh Strife Hayes, a little bit of Rich Campbell, and...
I know who 2 of those people are.
I assume you don't know Rich Campbell.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He's another person that works with Asmongold in OTK. And Rich Campbell is... Rich Campbell and Josh Strife are like opposite ends of the spectrum for players that play this game. On the one side, Josh Strife is the enjoyer of game without spending any money. And Rich Campbell is one of the whales.
Dumping tons.
Do you understand what I mean by whales?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, money whales, who spend flipping too much money. I think he said he spent something like 20 grand.
Dear God.
Which is just pain to my ears, and I'm sure to many people listening. 20 grand on a mobile game. Have you ever spent even $200 on a game, ever?
All at once? No.
No, but cumulatively on a single game. Like, even including, like, rebuying it on different platforms. Skyrim, probably. No, you wouldn't have spent $200 on Skyrim.
League of Legends. I've spent
Yeah.
more than $500 on that game. 'Cause
Oh damn.
I played it for 10 years, and every now and again I'd buy a new champion or buy a skin or something like that, and cumulatively I've spent several $100s.
Gotcha.
But again, that's
But
only
that's nothing compared to 20 grand.
yeah, that's $50 a year, which isn't terrible.
Eh. Most I've probably spent is about £200 on Payday 2, but that's including the actual physical masks in real life, a bobblehead in real life, lots of in-game DLC,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah, so I think one of the things that Josh Strife Hayes reads out in one of his videos is there are 22 different kinds of currency in this game that you can purchase or get in some way. Everything from picking up just regular gold from mobs to buying orbs to get other kinds of currency to upgrade certain pieces of gear. That kind of thing. Yeah, and it all really, really, really adds up, and you get some super pay-to-win people, because that's the thing, all of these in-game purchases can be used against other real players. So if you spend more, you
That's
win
where the
more.
sketchiness comes in when you start to venture into pay-to-win territory. I think...
Sketchiness comes in primarily for me when they're pitching it to kids.
Oh yeah, but I mean that's like every mobile game under the sun. Like, I can't. Oh my god, all the ads you get on YouTube of like this. There seems to be like a really solid ad formula. That and the Yahtzee Crosha, the zero punctuation guy, did an extra punctuation video on this. That I think I agree with his thoughts on this. There seems to be a formula for an ad for a mobile game, and it's like, let me show you this bright and colorful thing with a puzzle on it that's ridiculously easy, and show someone failing to solve that ridiculously easy puzzle, and just pisses people off, so they want to go and download the game and do it better themselves, and then they're hooked. And those...
Yeah, and you get that on every ad,
Yeah.
I feel like. I know what you mean. There was... oh god, what was I thinking? Oh, I've had a brain fart and it's suddenly vanished. Speak.
Oh, sorry, you want me to speak? Well, let's talk about more mobile games. I mean, I've never been a person that plays mobile. There's one game that I've always had on my phone, and it's Tetris, because I've always played, I've always had
I never even thought to do that.
It's a great thing to have. It started back in college, where I had my cell phone, and I'd be bored in class sometimes if it was a lesson that I already understood or already knew about. So I'd just pull out my phone and play around a Tetris in the back of the lecture hall. And I just kept it on there ever since. So every new phone, it's the only mobile game I ever download. Unfortunately, the version I have of it now does have ads on it, so I have to sit and watch like, I don't know, a 10.
Yeah.
I usually use the paid versions. Like I'd pay $10, put Tetris on the phone, and I did actually buy the original Knights of the Old Republic. That one is on mobile now, and so that's the most I've ever spent on a mobile game. I think it was like $30.
Did I hear that's getting
Yeah,
released?
they're doing a remake of it, and it's either going to be great or it's going to be shit. Because
there's no in between.
It would be great to see it remastered with better graphics and updated mechanics. I've put tons and tons of hours into both KOTOR games. I've
heard it's the best Star Wars game, and I've never played it because I was kind of a bit too young.
Yeah, I had it for the original Xbox, and now I have it for the PC. But it's a great,
maybe great
game, great storyline. Maybe we can do the reverse of the streams we've been doing, and we can stream you playing that game while I am in the background, or maybe not.
While my PC dies. That's the reason that we do it this way around.
True.
No, the Star Wars game I want to see remade is Republic Commando, because I love that game.
Yeah, well, we played it, remember, a while back when we did the Filthy Casuals series. We played through that one morning. I think we actually had Jake in the call when we were playing through, or at least for the tail end of it.
Yeah,
but Yeah, the reason I think it might be shit though is if they start to fuck with the story, because the story is so strong in that original game. Like it's got this amazing like plot twist.
This is
KOTOR, yeah.
KOTOR we're talking about.
And I just if they fuck with the story, if they start adding in like original characters and stuff,
You know that
that's
they
what I'm
were.
worried about. So it might be pretty better graphics, and they might ruin because the original game story was practically perfect. There's maybe a few things they could tighten up or something like that. Maybe add in a side quest or two. But even then, I if they just leave the story exactly as is and release it with better graphics and updated mechanics, perfect.
Oh, but they've got to nerf the female characters' asses though. They got to do the Mass Effect treatment on it. You got to re-release the game, but take out the booty.
I think KOTOR 1 and 2 is where I started pretty much only playing female characters in BioWare games because, I mean, if you're going to watch your character walk through maps for about 18 hours of gameplay, better be a nice ass. That's all I'm saying.
So on Diablo Immortal, you're getting stories now where the other day there's a video of someone took in an internet cafe where this guy had been going to the internet cafe and spending their parents' money. And their parents found out about it, went to the internet cafe and beat the crap out of them in the internet cafe. It was about 45 grand that he'd spent on Diablo Immortal.
45 grand, you spend that kind of money, I'm your parent, you're getting your ass kicked.
But yeah, it's like, oh god, I really...
I like to think that...
It's gone too far. Like...
Well, there was a lawsuit a while back where some guy in Spain was suing FIFA because he'd spent 20 grand buying players on like in 1 year on one game. And this wasn't like a whale. This was just like a guy, working a normal white collar job. So that's like probably a fifth of the money he has to spend for the whole year on everything else. Man's got food to buy.
It's awful. It is literally injecting the youth with gambling addiction.
It's one of the reasons that I'm kind of more of the opinion. I'm of the opinion more and more that loot boxes and things like that they constitute gambling. Like you're not laying down some cards, you're not winning cash prizes, but in terms of the tricks it plays on your mind and the what it taps into in the human psyche, I think that they're equivalent to gambling.
Yeah, and we've talked about loot boxes. Is probably one of the most stable topics we've discussed through the last 89 episodes of this podcast. Yeah. If it's not hating on social media, it's hating on loot boxes, and it's just got to stop. There are some countries that are straight up like, no, you're not putting your game in our country because we know what it's about. Diablo Immortal actually has found a loophole in the loot box scandal bullshit, which is that Diablo Immortal makes you still do a little bit of gameplay for your reward, which means that it doesn't count as a loot box because there is a skill-based challenge involved in it as well.
A token amount of gameplay.
They lawyered loot boxing gambling into a phone game for children. It's so scummy. I hate it.
It's one of the things that this is something I've put some thought into now because a bunch of my friends have kids and I'm at the point in my life where I'm starting to think about wanting kids, and I'm like, if I had a kid, I think I'd probably be, and I never thought I'd be this way when I was a teenager, but I think I might be one of those parents that's like, you're restricted access to like a phone until you're above a certain age. And there's certain apps...
give them a flip phone that has Snake on it. And even that's pretty addictive.
Yeah, because like, I mean, I got my first cell phone when I was 16, because back then it was just it was this shitty silver flip phone that you couldn't even put a game on. Actually, I think Snake was on it.
Yeah.
And that was it. because that's all it could run.
To be fair, though, I would also be the kind of parent that would never, ever, ever even have my kid in the same room as my credit cards.
That's true.
Like, they are never gonna. I'm not gonna send them to the shop with my credit card.
I wonder about this now. So,
Fuck
like,
that.
when I was 12 or 13, my mother got me a credit card. And it was linked to her credit card, and it had a $500 limit. And I had to pay her to pay it. It was. I thought it was a very good, like, it was a good life lesson, like teaching me how to handle money responsibly. And it was like, if I ever, and I always, I used it to pay for things. I always paid it off on time. But it was. I'm thinking now, like, yeah, you'd have to. God, you'd have to really trust your kids if you're doing that these days, because there's a million different ways that they could be baited into, like, giving that number away or spending it on stuff.
Yeah, it's awful. So, yeah, I don't know how much we can actually do. I mean, we could, tell people, tell council members, tell politicians and that shit, and hope that they have enough of a conscience that they would actually do something about it.
Yeah, there's that, but I think you were talking about whales, like the people who spend that 45 grand on the game, like that.
And we're not talking about the Welsh, by the way. We're just
yes.
It's not some global conglomerate in Wales.
We can ask our guest about this. What do the Welsh think?
Are you true? Like, you're the problem here.
But yeah, so I think that because these companies make so much, like I remember watching a video a couple of years back where somebody was going into the finances behind like loot boxes and really most of the income comes from those whales. Like they don't, like the average person either won't buy anything or will spend like a marginal amount, maybe like $10 or something like that. But then there's like a small percentage of the game population, and then they'll drop like tens of thousands of dollars, like you were talking about. And those people alone make it worth putting those things in there from a business perspective of the company.
And I don't think it's PC gaming. So there was a survey that went out about people that use different kinds of platforms. People that use phones, there are far more people that play games on phones than on Xbox, on PlayStation, on PC combined.
Yeah, and
like it's all the soccer mums and like just everyone who's got a phone is playing games on it.
One of the things I'm sure you've heard, there's an often misquoted statistic that like, more than or half of all gamers are women or something like that, which is just frankly untrue. The reason the way they get that statistic is by counting mobile, like, so if somebody plays like Farmville on the computer, or if they play, I don't know, Peggle or something on their phone, they counted them in the same category as the people who are playing.
Is Peggle on your phone?
I don't know.
Oh no, I'm thinking Peglin. Sorry, I've been playing Peglin a lot.
But if you count like those in the same bucket as you count people who are like playing, I don't know, Call of Duty or something like that, like they're two different.
Which is also on your
technically
phone.
You're talking about two categories of gamers, but they lump them together to make certain. This was back in the day when back in ye old 2016 or 2017 when they were making like a big feminist push in gaming.
Yeah,
but that's what I was getting to a point with that, and that's
okay.
that a lot of these mobile game players, the adult population of them at least, it's your average person, like like you said, like the soccer mom, like maybe a guy that doesn't really play video games but he'll play something on his phone. Basically what I'm saying is women are the problem.
Jesus
that was
Christ.
a joke.
That is not what
that was
saying.
A joke.
No, I was watching a video literally earlier today where, I mean, to prove exactly opposite of what we just said, there's a guy who used to be a CS:GO pro apparently. He made a video in like response to Asmongold, and he was saying he has played all these classical games like World of Warcraft and CS:GO and all these other things, and he said that he really enjoys Diablo Immortal. He's spent 100 grand on Diablo Immortal.
What the fuck?
100 grand. I have not spent 1% of that. Probably on. Actually, no. I've spent probably about 3% of that on every game purchase I've ever made combined.
That's 3/4. Sorry, that's 3/4 what I paid for my condo, and I still haven't paid that off yet. So technically, I haven't spent that whole 100 grand. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You could buy a house. That kind of, depending on where you live. I mean, I couldn't buy a house in Massachusetts. God, it's expensive as fuck up here. But, some more rural place, you could buy a house for that, and a pretty good one. Around where the rest of my family lives out in Iowa, you could probably buy good 2-3 bedroom house, in a decent suburb for that kind of money. That's ridiculous. And what do you get out of that? Like he's what, marginally better at a game that
on your phone. It's the on the phone bit that's the real kick in the knackers, isn't it? But no, any game at all. That's not a game anymore. And something that I noticed that he says, he doesn't say, "I've paid this money into the game as a one-time payment." It's an investment.
That's how they trick themselves.
Uses. It's investing. And it's like, an investment implies you get something back in the future.
It's like people who call their car an investment. No. Your car is a liability in terms of... financial things. There's assets and there's liabilities. Liabilities are things that you need to buy, but you will lose money on them. That's what your car is. Your car is not an investment. What he just did there, that's not... I wouldn't call that either of those things. Well, actually, no. Technically, since he's doing it for YouTube, and
that's an idiot tax.
Just what? Just giving me a headache.
Yeah. And honestly, I can almost understand Twitch streamers doing it, because that is
you're doing something. You're paying for something that you can use for content. Like people will.
Yeah, because content is what you need.
Yeah, it's like money. The people who would roll through the crates in CS:GO, and people.
Yeah, or FIFA,
people would watch them
like
go like, "Oh, get excited when it pops up and they got a new pink machine gun or whatever." I want to play CS:GO now.
I know, I've been wanting to play CS:GO for a while.
God, we used to play that a lot.
But it's full of cheaters, so, I don't know if they've actually fixed that. Probably not. Anyway, I feel like we've spoken about that topic enough now.
One last thing before we move off, and I'm going to angle the camera a little bit. Okay. No one listening is going to be able to see this, but... So I'm in the...
Guys, I put your trousers
off. I'm in the middle of playing... I just pointed the camera at my TV. I've got a game paused. I've been playing an old PS2 game called Xenosaga, which... It's an old JRPG, Xenosaga.
Xenoblade?
Xenoblade is a completely different game. So it's a sci-fi game, set in the far, far future, like 4,000 years in the future. And, aliens, whatever. Doesn't matter. The game is, probably more than... it's probably around 20 years old at this point. Came out in the early 2000s. And I've just been replaying it, kind of in my, a little bit, every now and again after work or something like that. And I'm having tons of fun with it. And I think even when I bought this game, I bought it for, $40. And you know what? I'm playing through it again. I haven't put any more money into it. It's still fun. I don't have to invest $100,000 in my PS2 every time I pull out an old game.
I mean, we could literally name pretty much any game on our Steam list and it'll be better value than Diablo Immortal.
I mean, not for Blizzard. They're making money hand over fist on it. I mean, they're kind of fucked in every other way, but...
Well, no, not even... In the long run, Microsoft making hand over fist on it now.
Yeah. I wonder if it's in the Microsoft App Store. I feel like,
I'd be surprised
out of curiosity, I want to see. Is Diablo Immortal here? Yep, there it is. Diablo Immortal. I'm installing this right now. Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah? I want to see what's worth
Battle.net.
blowing your fucking kids' college fund on.
So, you know dungeons, right? Sorry, I'm diving right back into it. I'm sorry. So, dungeons in Diablo Immortal. When you get to the end of a dungeon, you fight a boss, and if you're free to play, it drops a chest, and then you pick it up and fuck off. Every time you kill the boss, I think it comes up with a pop-up saying... Let's say it's the first dungeon you go into. You kill the boss, and it's like... Bam! You've got this much treasure. Pay us $2, and we will give you 6 times the reward.
Oh, that's scummy.
Okay, wait, hold. You go to the next one, Dungeon 2. Different dungeon, harder enemies. You kill the boss. We will give you, for $3... 5 times the amount of loot. Dungeon 3.
You guys can't see my expression right.
For $4, we will give you 4 crates extra. Like, it literally goes up in price with each dungeon, and the amount you get, the percentage you get, goes down. For each dungeon. You already want to uninstall that game.
Honestly, I was surprised how big it was. It's 30 gigabytes. Well, 26 gigabytes. I have the option. I can play it on mobile.
Really?
I can install it on my brand new phone over here. That's the first thing I want to do. I feel like that's a bad omen if I install that in.
Brick your new phone. Yeah, I mean, because you're going to throw your phone to a wall and then it's going to
Maybe I should install on the phone that has a case. Oh, God. Yeah.
But, yeah, what a colossal piece of crap. And we're not against computer game companies making money. It's a classic thing where if you like a computer game company, you want to support them, you buy their DLC or their music packs and stuff like that. Always done that. But this is like psychological warfare gambling.
Yeah, like you joked about Skyrim earlier. Like I own Skyrim for the Xbox 360, I own it for the Xbox One, and I own it for the PC. Don't have it for the fridge yet. Oh, I also own it for the Switch. I forgot about that one.
Don't have it for the fridge yet. Damn it! It's not good enough, guys.
Yeah, no, the Switch one was kind of a impulse buy because I was in an airport. I had 4 hours to kill before a flight, and so I'm like, oh, hey, Skyrim's for the Switch.
Honestly, but if Skyrim put in microtransactions where you could get different skins for your horse, I would be fine with that.
And
that's the kind of thing
That's ironic because for the original in Oblivion for the Xbox 360, that was in the early days of DLC. Bethesda caught a lot of flack for the horse armor DLC because it was like $4 and you could get horse armor.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have any problem with it at the time either. People got really up. I never understood why people got up in arms about that. Because all the DLCs for Sky, that one, first of all, I bought all of them because I played the fuck out of Oblivion when I was.
Oblivion
I probably put something like 500 hours into that game on the 360. But one of my. Yeah, so, but I got up. And the thing is, especially like Shivering Isles, that was packed with content. Yeah. But the point is, you paid it once, you got the thing, and it generally was something that was cool or useful or interesting. I don't want to beat this topic anymore. Because we've already talked about this for a half hour. You realize that, right?
Yeah. But it has brought up something else I think would be a fun topic for another time. Is that which we think is the best of all time DLCs. Because I think you're absolutely right. The Isle of Madness from Oblivion is possibly the greatest DLC I've ever played.
I really, really enjoyed that one. Best of all time, I don't think I would give it that though. My best would probably this is.
Well, bye. Let's keep it for another topic, because that's going to be a good one.
We can keep it for another topic, but I think if, just right off the top of my head, one of the ones that probably I got the most enjoyment out of was the Citadel DLC for Mass Effect 3. Which is the one where you go on shore leave and there's like a side plot and you can organize a big party with everyone at the end of it.
I don't think
it's
I ever
quite
had
good.
That deal.
It's basically the ending Mass Effect 3 deserved. But that's just my off the top of my head. I'm sure I can think of other ones, so we'll bring this up on a later podcast. I'm gonna write that down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Should we do a second segment at some point? Because I need to go walk the dogs.
Okay.
I'm sorry. My topic
It's
way
fine.
too
It took
long.
up the whole
I
thing.
apologize.
So just we can actually record like a second half of segment 1 if you want a little bit later, because my topic is one I wanted to go into, and I think it's something we could get a little bit of mileage out of, just to introduce the topic before we cut off.
Segment 2 is back for one episode only.
And ironically, it's talking about media.
Oh my god!
All right, so yeah, I guess for this one and only episode 89 of the TMCJ podcast, segment 2 is back. But since Blue has to go out and walk the dogs, this is going to be the end of segment 1 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again momentarily for segment 2. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 2 for the first time in quite a while. Our media segment. We haven't gone back to this since we kind of moved our movie talks out into their own dedicated videos. But here it is. It's back again.
Yes, we've descended back into mediocrity.
That was
I
horrible.
shouldn't say that, should I?
That was awful.
Well,
so
if we'd gotten the recording right the first time, guys, then maybe it wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, so what you won't hear in this version of the podcast is I did that intro once already, and Audacity crashed. So I was recording myself, we had to restart. But yeah, so what I wanted to talk about during this segment is a TV trope that has kind of been becoming more and more common and has annoyed quite a few people.
Jeepers, what could that possibly be, guys?
Act surprised like you haven't heard me say this already. The bait and switch, basically.
Holy Jesus!
Shut the fuck up. But and I know you already heard this example too, but the most recent one, which I haven't seen because I canceled my Disney Plus subscription finally, is the Kenobi TV show. And again, I'm getting
actually
this.
tell me that. But yeah, okay, go on.
Okay, I didn't get that far. That's when I probably noticed Audacity crashing.
Yeah.
So it's the new show that was very anticipated because it was supposed to be a TV show about the interim between the end of the prequel trilogy and the beginning of the original Star Wars trilogy that shows kind of what Obi-Wan Kenobi got up to in that time.
That's kind of funny, because the only thing I've heard about the Obi-Wan Kenobi film is when, most evenings when I'm sat down eating food watching The West Wing, Prime TV makes you watch ads, and so I get a 30-second ad of some kind of car with Obi-Wan Kenobi advertisement being pushed my way. It's that, or ironically, famous people trying to push their podcasts. Ads.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is, again, stuff that I've heard about the show. And it's that the show is supposed to be about Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it was, like, getting anticipated because it had Ewan McGregor, the guy that played him in the the prequel trilogy. Pretty great actor. But then the show ends up actually being about someone completely different. Like, so they bait you in with a easily recognizable named character, and then the show's really about show's about somebody else. Okay. And I can't say, since I haven't.
He-Man did it bad.
That's one of my examples. Yeah, that's one of my examples. is that the He-Man show, it's called He-Man Masters of the Universe or whatever it was, and it's supposed to be about him, and he dies in episode 1, and it turns out to be actually about his lesbian friend, and which again, on its own merits, that the show could have been about whatever her name is, She-Ra, or no, it wasn't. Is it She-Ra or? I can't remember the girl's name. But if the show was like about her and it was like, hey, we're making the show about this character, fine. You could have done they could have done a great show about that. He-Man dies in the first episode and it's about what she does after that. That could have, I mean, the show itself, the animation quality was amazing on that one. It could have been a good show, but they baited you in calling it He-Man and having him front and center, and then it's not actually about him.
See.
So those are the two most prominent examples I thought of. You see this to a lesser extent with some other stuff, like they'll be like, oh, it's the Halo TV show is a good example of this, where they're like, they called it Halo, but it's like the people who created it barely paid attention to the existing lore.
I watched a YouTube video on this recently, which means I know everything. But no, I heard that fans were, I think it's fair to say, outraged because one of the key points was Judge Dredd syndrome. That is to say, Master Chief should spend like at least 99% of his time with his mask on.
Yeah.
And instead, he is just nude a lot of the time, from what I've heard.
Yep.
And fucking other spies from the...
That's one of the weirdest things.
Or whatever the fuck they're called.
Master Chief has sex in this show. Like...
Yeah.
Like, one of the plot points throughout the games is, like, people think of him just as, like, a machine, as a robot, because he's 100% soldier all the time.
They tried to give him the Geralt treatment.
That's actually a good comparison. And that was a show, actually, that's a good example of a show where I was worried they were going to do this bait and switch thing, but they didn't, was with The Witcher. And a large part of that, I think, is down to Henry Cavill, the guy who plays Geralt in that show, being such a big fan of The Witcher.
And well, that's another thing. I heard that the person who, the director of the Halo series, the TV series, has never played Halo and wanted to move it away from the game purposefully. Which is like, okay, alright, picture this. We've got the rights to Star Wars, okay? Fantastic. Here's my idea. I think the space bit is unnecessary. I think we did it all underground with mole people. Alright? Brilliant idea.
And going back to what I said about the He-Man thing, like, if he wanted to make, like, a sci-fi action show and do all of this stuff, it probably, and from what I've heard, like, the show actually, the production value is pretty good, and it's got an okay storyline. The problem is they called it Halo, and it's not. But I did see, I think it was a few weeks back when people were really talking about the Halo show a lot. Angry Joe Show?
Yeah.
I watched their...
sometimes he's alright, sometimes...
He's not somebody I go to that often, but every now and again, I'll enjoy watching one of his videos. But I loved the very beginning of his video. He's like, okay, here's the summary of the first episode of Halo. And he's wearing, like, Master Chief costume.
He just
takes the helmet off, like... He's like, okay, here's the summary. And he just stares at the camera, takes the helmet off. Goes to put it back... No, takes it back off again. Yeah. Goes to put it... Takes it back off again. It's like...
Well, apparently he puts it on at the beginning of one scene, and it's off again by the end of the same scene.
Yeah.
It's like, why bother putting it on?
At that point, you're just pissing in fans' faces.
Yeah, it's like, here's an icon that we're not going to use. But no, I think, Judge Dredd. Because I'm using Judge Dredd because it's the most similar thing that I can... Because I don't know jack shit about Halo. And also, I hear that aliens are a bit... odd.
They were off. Like, they got the aesthetic of them, the way they look, pretty right. Like, they got the elites looking really cool, but they do
Their
this weird
voices and things. Or
yeah,
something.
and they also do this weird subplot where one of the Covenant are raising a human or something like that to be their spy, which
Yeah, I heard about this. One of their like major players is a human, but their entire goal, their magnum opus, is kill all humans.
yeah, and so I've read most of the books. Well, actually, there's a lot more books now. So I've read most of the books as of the time like Halo Reach was released. So I'm a bit behind now, but one of the major plot point of Halo, why the Covenant are trying to exterminate humans, their whole religion is based around the Forerunners, and they see them as gods, and they go through some archives to try and find out like more about them and stuff like that, and they find out that actually the Forerunners called humanity the Reclaimers. They were supposed to be the people who took over their technology and took over what they called the mantle of responsibility, i.e. like the protectors of the galaxy. And so when the Covenant found out that their god's chosen people were humans and not them, they were just like,
The fuck, bro?
it's like fuck this. So they went to exterminate humanity.
Yeah. Wait, so is the chick that they send to sleep with with Master Chief, she fucked the Halo ring?
Oh god.
No. Is that the person?
So the thing is, yeah, I think that's her.
Okay.
So like canon wise, that would make no sense because the Covenant, like humanity, is just like a blight on their religion. It's this nasty scar that they just want gone. And so the idea of them raising a human for any reason is moronic.
Yeah.
But they've already stated it's a different timeline. They've changed things around.
This isn't Master Chief. This is Mr. Chief.
Yeah. What's like what was it? The guy that played Luke Skywalker. What he said, when he's talking about the way his character was shit all over in the second new movie, The Last Jedi, where he's like, well, maybe he's not Luke Skywalker. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. And yeah, he was not. I wish I could remember his name. He was not Mark Hamill. He was not happy how they treated Luke Skywalker in the second movie.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah. Can you think of any other? I feel like this is happening a lot every time they reboot something.
Bait and switches.
Yeah.
Well, they fucking bait and switched me right off of The Expanse when the detective died.
Well, that's not bait and switch. That's just a plot point.
And it sent me so far away from wanting to watch the next season. Bam, The Boys. It's all about women. Does that count?
I don't think it does.
Okay.
I've been really enjoying the new season of The Boys.
I need to watch this all. I've had so much time this weekend, but every time I go to sit down and watch it, suddenly someone pops up and is like, let's play a game. And I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I'm halfway. Episode 5 just came out on Friday. I'm about halfway through the episode. Because I was watching it while I was on the elliptical yesterday, and then I finished my workout. I wasn't going to do like an hour. That's what I should have done. I should have stayed on it and done an hour-long run just so I could finish The Boys.
So you can finish the picnic now.
I feel like this is something we might be able to apply this to games too. Like, so we were talking about KOTOR earlier. I think that's my big worry is like I'm expecting good old original Knights of the Old Republic, but with better graphics and gameplay.
Yeah.
But then they're probably going to fuck with the story. I'd consider that a bait and switch.
You know what would be a really good bait and switch? If they released a Batman game, but you could only play as Robin.
There was a game, a remake that came out recently that like...
I was going to say Assassin's Creed, but no, that's not what you're going for.
No, it was... what was that game? I just remember like people getting all... It wasn't a game that I had played, but people getting really up in arms about it because they did. They called it a remastering, but they changed a ton of stuff in the game.
What console was it on?
I think it was like cross-platform. I don't know. One thing they didn't do it with was the Final Fantasy VII remake. I mean,
I've been seeing
granted,
that a lot on Steam at the moment.
yeah, they just released it for PC and then added in the DLC. I played it for the PS4. I had a lot of fun with it, but they added a lot to the story, and it's only like the first half of the first, or maybe like the first third of the first game.
My biggest problem with Final Fantasy is that I don't want to get into it because of the following that it has. That is to say, there's such deep lore in it by this point that I am never going to fully understand all the references without going back to game 1 and playing all 90 of the games. Go on.
They're not direct sequels, so you could pick up any of them in the series. There's
yeah,
only
you still won't understand references to other points.
No, it's like half the time it's completely different universes. Like they have similar themes, like
Cloud, Sephiroth.
yeah, but that's all Final Fantasy VII. That's 100% Final Fantasy VII.
That's more than just Final Fantasy VII.
I swear to you, it's only Final Fantasy VII. They made a couple spin-off games in the same universe, but so Final Fantasy VIII
Kingdom Hearts
has nothing to do with them. Completely different character, completely different world, completely different plot line.
To be fair, I went back on Final Fantasy XIV the other day. I can't remember how to open my inventory. Like, there's so many shortcuts, like so many keyboard commands, and I haven't played it for like half a year.
Yeah, it's been.
I can work out how to open my map to teleport. I couldn't even remember how to teleport. It was awful. I started playing it, and you know when you come back to a game after too long, and you're really high level in it, and you look at all of your abilities and things, you're like,
How the fuck?
I just can't be bothered to get back to the point where I was at last time.
I did that with the only other MMO that I really played a lot on the PC was Star Wars: The Old Republic, ironically. And that one I had like a level 65 bounty hunter. That was the one that I played the most. Went back in, looked at all my abilities, and was just like, I don't remember how I played this character.
Like, I remember what each of the individual abilities do, but I don't know the order in which to do them. I can't remember, because I played tank, how to optimally pull aggro without pissing off the other tank in the party. And yeah, everything just felt so much slower. Like, everyone already left the raid, and while I'm trying to vote on not taking loot because I didn't need it and my inventory was full of crap. Yeah. So no, Final Fantasy, it's too much work for me.
Yeah, but really though, every game is self-contained. So you can,
right.
There's a couple exceptions, like they did make a Final Fantasy X-2, and they made a Final Fantasy 13-2, or I think it was called like Lightning Returns or something.
I played the first one with Lightning in.
Yeah, that was Final
that
Fantasy.
Was such a long game. Holy crap, that was long.
Yeah, pretty much all of them are very long games.
Yeah, and I got to a point where it was like, this feels like the final boss, and it's like halfway through the game, if that. And I think the game like completely changed its format for the second half of the game or something.
That happens in a couple of them.
Yeah.
So I've played through Final Fantasy VII, the original, all the way through. I've played most of Final Fantasy VIII, but I never beat it. I have it for it's somewhere over there. I think it might be behind me on that shelf. I got most of the way through it, and then just, I don't know, I hit a wall or just got bored and just never finished it. Final Fantasy IX I own, but I barely played like a fifth of it. I just wasn't hooking me. Final Fantasy X was the first one I ever played, and it's awesome. It was the first one on the PS2. I absolutely loved it. I actually beat the remastered version of it on Steam last fall.
I see. The one I enjoyed most was Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah. I had that for the Game Boy Advance. No, for the DS? I either had it for the Game Boy Advance or the DS.
I had it on the DS, I'm pretty sure. It might have been PSP, actually. But it actually got me... I was thinking about it the other day, and so I picked up a game on Steam, which is very closely based off of it. But just enough to legally not be a quandary. So I was playing that. But yeah, I don't know. What were we talking about?
Bait and switch. We've kind of gone off in the weeds.
We bait and switched the audience.
Brought them in like we were going to talk about something we were angry about. Now we're just talking about what games we've been playing.
Yeah. It was Fae Tactics. It was a similar pixel style as well.
I feel like there's more of these TV shows and movies in particular. What was the... There's a movie.
What's the theme?
Sci-fi. Predator, maybe? Or
Alien vs. Predator?
Yeah. I feel like there was something coming out recently that was going to be like that, where it was...
Prometheus?
I think that one was just a bad movie, from what I heard.
Yeah, it wasn't great. And I hate the pregnancy scene. I really hate that. And we're not going to describe it for this podcast because I don't think anyone needs to hear that.
There's the... this isn't even a bait and switch. They're just outright telling you that they don't give a shit about the lore. The Amazon Lord of the Rings show.
Oh. Has that come out yet?
No, it hasn't. That's why I said it's not even a bait and switch. Like, they just flat out told you in the marketing material, we don't give a fuck about the lore, and we're just going to do whatever the hell we want.
To be fair, that could be good.
It could be. And who knows? It might be...
Because it's meant to be set way before...
It's meant to be set way before... Like, I think in the Second Age, and the movies take place at the end of the Third Age, or whatever it is. But they ignored the fact that, like, they ignored the lore about female dwarves. They're supposed to have beards. They didn't.
Why do people... Oh my god, that's a trend at the moment. Female dwarves. I don't know why I'm so angry about this. Female dwarves are meant to have beards. Terry Pratchett. Female dwarves have beards. TV show about Terry Pratchett. Doesn't have a beard.
What? And...
Oh no, they shaved it off or something. I don't know, but it's like, why are you so ashamed? You're part of your people. That's just your species.
They also took one of the characters, one of these old like elf characters from the movies and from the books. She was, she's been alive for like 1,000 some odd years, and so she's in this show, and she was supposed to be like this. Kind of a more cerebral character, like magical, mystical, thinking character, and they made her a warrior woman in the original show, or in this new show from the materials they're showing off, and it's just like, I need to have a quick rant about this.
Okay.
We're good on time. I don't know what you're talking about. we're 10 minutes under what we usually do for a segment.
We're at 40 minutes, aren't we?
We're at 21 minutes.
Okay. Okay, sorry.
Sorry. Blue's doing the little wrap it up thing to me, and I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, we got plenty of time.
I thought we had more time, and I've got stuff to do in 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Then I will wrap this up. This will be the last thing I talk about. But it's one of the more lazy pieces of writing that you see like now. I feel like a lot of movies and TV shows I watch, they don't know how to write like strong women. Like they go the lazy route and they just make them like men with boobs. Like it's like, oh, this, the example with the elf, they had to make her a warrior woman because they wanted her to be like, they couldn't make her strong in other ways. They couldn't make her like intelligent or like somebody who's cunning and has plans things ahead. Now they just stuck a sword in her hand and gave her armor.
That's the thing. It's the difference between having a character who is introduced to you as being strong and introducing a character to you who is weak and then training them until they're strong in front of you and seeing the hardships that they go through before they become that badass. If someone just gives you a badass character, you're not going to care about them.
Yeah, or you have to work hard to make somebody, or to make, like John Wick. He shows up already a badass, but they show him like, but he's up against impossible odds, and he's got like a good motivation behind him. They killed his puppy. They make, even though he's like an unflappable badass, they, through good writing, make you like, they make the audience care about him. One of the classic, more common examples now is Rey from the new Star Wars trilogy. Like from the very beginning. Bad
example. Yeah.
It's an example of it done wrong, because she, like you said, she just comes in and is just great at everything.
She
no
just
training.
Has Jedi powers now, and yep.
She can use crazy Jedi powers with no training. She can fly the Millennium Falcon, having never flown a ship. Like, she can sail, I think, in one of the movies, and she grew up on a fucking desert planet.
Yeah. Unlike Ripley, who is basically a strict teacher.
Yeah.
She's basically a manager. And after seeing her friends die and be ripped apart and terrified, she just about manages to escape without killing the creature properly, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
No, it's just, you're right. That's an example of it done right. Because you like, she's not a completely like unstoppable force of nature. She's a normal person put in an extraordinary situation, and what makes her compelling is the fact that she reacts like a normal person would, and then you watch her go through that process of steeling herself and actually surviving.
I feel like we need to get a bigger retinue of female characters that we think are really awesome, because I feel like Ripley is our favourite and we use her all the time.
She does get used a lot, yeah. Hold on, let me think of... Well, I mean... Think of a...
I mean, there's a light-hearted one. Frickin' Disney film, Japan...
Oh, Mulan.
Mulan.
The animated one...
Not the live-action.
The live-action one is an example of it done wrong.
Exactly. It's a perfect case study.
Yeah, because in the animated one, like, she has a strong motivation. She goes into extreme danger to save her father, and she has to really, really struggle to make it. And she does, and because of that struggle and because of the bonds she's developed, in a critical moment, she manages to live, and then...
She literally gets kicked out for being a failure, and then she really puts her nose to the grindstone and gets back. But yeah.
Yeah, and then in the movie, she just has, like, super chi powers and is able to take on armies all by herself. And yeah, you're right. That's another perfect... I mean, Disney's got quite a few good examples, I think. Like, people harp on the Disney princesses as being like, oh, it's a bad example because they just wait to be saved. But that's not true. Like,
oh, God, no. Moana.
Yeah. Moana's... I still haven't seen that movie.
She's not the princess, really. If I think Maui's the princess.
Well, I was even thinking, going back to the older ones, like Princess Jasmine from the Aladdin movie. Like, she granted is like living a bit of a secluded life, but the whole reason that they meet to begin with is she takes matters into her own hands and escapes and wants to go out and see the city and stuff. Like, she's not just like a damsel in distress.
Yeah, Pocahontas, I would also say, definitely not.
Yeah, Pocahontas
in any
is another...
way a princess.
Oh yeah, Pocahontas is... I watched that movie a few months back again, and a fit of nostalgia.
Although I think very, very few people have watched Pocahontas, I think.
Yeah.
At least certainly that live outside of America.
Yeah, it was big when I... Well, we watched a lot of Disney movies when I was growing up.
Yep.
Let's see, just... I'm thinking of Disney now, but I know there's other ones that I've seen out there.
But yeah, we're gonna have a guest on soon.
Oh yeah, we can wrap it up there. So we'll have a guest on, and as we alluded to in the first segment, a Welshman, a whale. I don't. What do you call someone from Wales?
Don't call our guest a whale before they're even on the show.
But I don't know what do you call, like, you call you like a Brit or an Englishman, You call me an
Yeah.
American. Like, would you call him? Would you
So
call?
I guess I'd be a lion. You would be an eagle.
Caw!
She would be a sheep.
I thought, doesn't Wales have a dragon on their flag?
I mean, they do, but they're also known for sheep.
How will you tell them apart from the Scotsman then?
A fire-breathing sheep.
All right. Well, that's enough teasing for the next segment. So look forward to that. But this is going to be the end of segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you'll hear us again momentarily for segment 3. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 3, our wildcard segment, and we're reusing something that we've only ever done once before. We have a guest on the podcast.
Exactly. Exactly 20 episodes after the last one. The last one was on episode 69 because they requested it.
Yes.
And so here we have on episode 89 the suicidal sea dog, the dungeon crawling thief that, got stabbed to death by his own shadow. It's Raven! Well, yeah, I got your accolades, blowing me up with TNT when I'm on your own team, and then me stabbing you to death with your own shadow. I feel like those are the two defining factors. Very true. Both in Sea of Thieves and in DM. In D&D. Yeah. A bit of a pyromaniac you are, just generally, when you play games.
Which is ironic. Well, considering earlier you were describing the Welsh as a fire-breathing sheep.
True. It's in the blood. Much like Kaiser, his stereotype is having a shotgun in any game. Ravens tends to be setting fire to himself and hugging whoever's closest. Yeah. In style, though. She hot, is what they say.
Oh God. Yeah. So I mean, maybe that's a good place to start off with this segment. We're thinking like, what can we talk about on this segment with our esteemed guest here, and one of the first things we came to mind was D&D, because Blue and I both DM. We both play in D&D games, and you're in Blue's D&D group.
Actually, Raven has DM'd.
Oh, nice. So all three of us have DM'd then.
Yeah, a very nautical themed D&D campaign. Oh, did it go on to land? I see. Really? What was the problem? What was the Dungeons and Dragons problem with the sea? Sea of Thieves would prove you wrong.
See, I was thinking it was, how do you flank with a galleon?
Yes, we have a thief ship. We sneak up on other ships, steal their money when they're not watching, and then sail away. Yep.
There was...
Yeah, what...
Sorry, go on, Blue.
I was just going to say, what was your campaign about? Because I remember you had about, 4 members in your party? Yeah, God, know them feels. Yeah. Right. So they were actually hired, they're not just murder hobos. Gotcha. Gotcha. That reminds me of those books, the Do Your Own Adventure books,
Which
where it's like, where you die so fucking easily, and so you're just sending person after person into this adventure, essentially. Yeah.
see that. And we know this from personal experience because on the YouTube channel we did multiple videos where Blue was taking me through a choose your own adventure book, and
Yeah,
I
that
died.
didn't go well.
I died every time. I think the furthest I got to like a town where I went to a hot spring, and then I died.
You punched a wall at one point, and the wall killed you.
That did happen.
Yeah. No, it just fell over and crushed him to death.
Why? Like just.
And
just,
you think I'm a rough DM?
that book was a roughy.
Yeah. You only lost one character. Almost died, not died. Well,
See-
how many ways have I almost killed you? A drug cartel owner, right? Yeah, that's not on me. You setting yourself on fire and running at an undead thing.
I do have to say that the D&D game that I play so I play in a game on Mondays, and that's the one I've been in that game now for close to 4 years because it's all a bunch of like working people, and so we all have like very very limited time, and so it's like an hour and a half. It was Tuesday night, now it's Monday night, and so the game has taken that long to get through. But I'm surprised my character hasn't died. Like I play the paladin, and I'm the party's tank, and I've done some like I needed to get down and save our mage and our rogue. So I was in this multi-story tree, and we were fighting birds. So I dove out of the tree and tackled a bird in midair, and just like killed it with fall damage.
See,
Yeah.
you Goomba Stomp. The key thing you've got there, Kaiser, is that your party has a tank.
I take it. Is that not the case in your game?
There are 6 members of their party. They have 4 magic users and 2 rogues.
I
A magic user.
You just, by the way, you just named the 2 roles in D&D I hate playing. I hate playing rogues, and I hate playing that. To this day, I barely understand how spells work in that game. Like,
You are playing a paladin.
Paladin's the closest I get to spells. Yeah, but my spells are Thunderous Smite, which makes my hammer hit harder, and Shield of Faith, which makes me take hits better.
Yeah.
I also have and I have a spell that summons a horse. His name is Donkey.
Ooh. Nice. Yeah. I mean, if you're not...
It's like 99% of my magic moves in that game.
And this is why no one takes tank or healer in any MMO. Because they're like, I want to do all the damage.
Oh, but I do have a lot of fun. Actually, I feel like this is a good time to transition into the story of what it's like to have Blue as a player. I'm sure, Raven, you've probably heard this story from him, or you might have. But I was hosting a campaign. It was 2 of my cousins, one of their friends, and Blue. And what was supposed to be a quick montage of them taking a caravan from one city to another. So I should preface this. I have a policy in my D&D games. The players can do whatever they want as long as it's within reason, but there will be consequences for it. So Blue goes and scouts around, asks some questions, finds I think he's just like choosing the caravan they're gonna use to get to the next city. He goes to the other players and just like, all right, guys, we're gonna rob the caravan. The players agree, and so I had to create an entirely homebrewed custom side quest of all the people in the caravan and like some other plot points, who's there, figure out the mechanics for them actually doing this. It was supposed to be like a half a session transition from one city to another. It ended up being like 3 or 4 sessions of them robbing the caravan and saving a prince from assassins or something like that.
I was essentially the evil equivalent of Decidu, if you can picture that.
And at the end of it, the funny thing is...
We got bank!
They got a ton of money. They got some inroads with some influential nobles. And the caravan owners thanked them for saving their elite guests because they never found out that they were the ones robbing the place. They did such a good job distracting them and, like, you know, pulling this off.
That took planning.
It got away scot-free.
But yeah, go on.
Again...
Go on.
It's one of the consequences of that policy of my players can do whatever they want. The other consequence is they're currently banned from one city because they detonated a magical nuke in front of a crowded shop and like killed a bunch of people. You didn't do that. That was Kevin. Right? that was Kevin, but still, it happened. You guys aren't allowed back in Mirabar.
We had a pet called Butterbean. He was a big boar. And when I left that campaign because of needing more time in my life, I took Butterbean with me. So my character actually survived the process and got a pet boar in the process. An armoured pet boar as well.
You managed to retire.
Yeah. There used to be a manticore or something?
Yeah, it was... I want to say it was a owlbear or something like that. And... One of the players has a broken wand of true polymorph, so he can transfer stuff, but it's got a whole bunch of extra caveats attached. One of them is if he rolls low enough, the thing causes a magical explosion, which is what happened in front of that shop. Yeah.
But yeah. Oh god, I'm doing it again! This is the second time today it's happened where I'm like, I've got a thing to talk about, and now I've forgotten it. You go.
All right. Well, we were talking. So earlier in this podcast, we were talking about Diablo Immortal and all the microtransactions in that. So in the interim between segment 2 and 3, I've downloaded and played the game. I was streaming it for a bit earlier. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And this is the bad part. I actually really liked it. I had a lot of fun playing it. I didn't. Yeah, that's the thing. I did not. I got to the point where I can make microtransactions, but I have not made any of them yet. And
you've started the game.
Yeah,
is how far you've got.
Well, no, I've beaten the tutorial. I'm level 12. I've beaten the tutorial level, and I've gotten out into like the first main mission and a couple.
What
I've done a
class
couple.
Did you go?
Monk.
Barbarian. Monk.
Yeah, I went with monk, and I made him look. Like, he's got the Mormon beard, so he's got the beard with no mustache, and then, like, the spiky up Super Saiyan hair.
Did you go for an Equestrian Johnson?
No, I named him General Brickjaw.
Oh.
I maxed out all the sliders on his face, so he's just got this giant head.
So you're one of the people that does that. When I'm making a character, because character creation is the most important part of any game, I make mine try to make mine either very cool or very beautiful. You go for the dumbness.
I do. Well, you saw my Dragon Age character, where it's just like, it's a dwarf, and I just made his nose as big as possible, so it's this giant melon sticking off of his face. And every time he shows up in a cutscene, I lose it.
What games have you been playing, Raven? You've been playing Elden Ring. I don't think Kaiser's played Elden Ring.
No. I've been wanting
My brother's been trying to make me play it.
For the longest time, I've wanted to get into the Dark Souls style games, like the really ridiculously difficult ones, but I just never have.
And yet we have given opinions on it, Paul, because it's so popular at the moment.
But yeah, how's it been treating you?
As in... Been there with Sea of Thieves, holy fuck.
That's me back when I used to play League of Legends. Like, occasionally...
I've... Go on, sorry.
No, just occasionally it just... Oh, you just gotta walk away. Walk away for a few minutes.
I've never damaged any equipment. But there have been times where I've, like, punched the desk kind of thing. Those are, like, the worst. And then it's like, okay, I need to really...
The worst I've ever done is back in high school or middle school. So this would have been when I was, like, probably 15 or 16. I was playing the original God of War. And I was stuck on this one section, and it kept killing me over and over again. And I threw a nickel through a TV. It's just like... Yes, so it was like embedded in the screen. That's the word. I mean, at the time I did track and field, so I did like discus and javelin. So I had a very good throwing arm, but
I just imagine you discus throwing a nickel now. So
just a little
fucking Beyblade style. I've never broken anything. I think probably the most angry I've been is on CS:GO, I'd imagine.
Any kind of competitive game like that, they can really get to you. Especially, like, the reason I think I compare CS:GO and League of Legends in my head is because they both are very, very long ranked games. And so there's a lot more time to build up the rage.
Well, that's the thing. You've seen me get real fucking mad on Heroes of the Storm. But the matches aren't long enough
for it to
I go full nuclear.
Yeah. Oh, God.
I think Apex Legends made me pretty fucking mad. You loved Apex Legends, though.
I did. I mean, it was basically the only way that Juan, Raymond... So, for your benefit, Raven, like, Juan and Raymond are two of my closest friends around here. And for a while, like, when they started locking everything down, that was kind of how we stayed in contact. It was a perfect thing. So there was three of us. We played Apex Legends. I only played one character ever. I just stick to the robot man that can make zip lines. Oh, he's the best.
I was like, does Raven even know about Apex Legends? Clearly. More than I do. When? What? I would never stop playing because you sucked. I would have, if anything, that would have encouraged me because I wouldn't have been the worst person on the team, which I was. I hated Apex Legends. You both did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when I first started playing, I played the Maui guy, like the big man with the shield. Gibraltar, yeah. I played him a lot. What? Yeah, the Rock. Yeah, it's Dwayne Johnson. Yeah. But then once I discovered Pathfinder, I never went back. Because every other character, I'm like, I play them, I'm like, it's so slow running around. Where's my grapple hook? Oh, my friend Raymond plays him a lot.
Drugs! It's like what is it, the flamethrower guy from, the Pyro from TF2.
Oh.
Have you seen that video of what he sees and what everyone else sees? Where he's like skipping through a bunny wonderland, spreading rainbows. and then it switches to IRL and people are screaming in a house that he's standing in the middle of, kind of thing.
The only character I think I ever played in TF2 was the spy. I loved I got very good at faking being on the enemy team and just backstabbing key people.
I made the critical error of coming to that game too late, and everyone was way better than I was.
Oh yeah, I haven't played it in years now, but I played it a lot in college.
Also, because back at those times, I used to play Call of Duty on the console. And so even Halo was like, God, it takes forever to kill someone, because in COD, you turn the corner, you're dead.
It's one of the reasons I like Halo. You can you can reverse a fight if you get in a bad situation.
Yeah. I think I've kind of got past that now, but at the same time, Valorant is very fun, and CSGO is also very fun.
Yeah, we played a lot of Valorant back in 2020.
Yeah, you said you played one game of Raven? You played one game of Valorant, Raven, before you were like, fuck this shit. Oh. Really?
Halo's the game that I never played FPS, and then I got Halo 1, and then I played a lot of FPS. Halo 2 was probably the most competitive I ever got with Halo, because I got pretty high ranked in that. I think I had 11,000 games logged in Halo 2. That was basically a good chunk of my high school life.
Yeah, I was always PlayStation, but one of my best friend when I was 14 or 15 had an Xbox. He had Halo, and so I went around his house one day, and I'd never played Halo before, and I was very good at COD when I was younger. Not at all now. I suck at first-person shooter games. And I played against him on Halo, and I kicked his ass 9 times to Sunday. And so I actually quite enjoyed it while I was facing him. I don't know if he was just being nice. He was a very nice guy. But then I got to playing against other people when Halo came out on the PC, the Master Chief Collection.
Yeah.
And I was playing with you and Scott against other people online, and I'm like, nope, I suck at this shit. I hate it.
It's a very different experience, yeah.
I always loved the shard gun because I wouldn't have to aim properly.
It's called a needler.
But yeah, what was your first games, Raven? Because you're a little bit younger than me, I think. Yeah. What was your first console? GameCube. Nice. There were some good games on the GameCube.
I really liked the GameCube. Very different.
That was your first. How old were you playing Resident Evil? Oh, okay. Well, if that's... back in the GameCube era, I certainly wouldn't have been playing Resident Evil. I was playing Pikmin and Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, my... I'm trying to think. I think we may have talked about it before, but so I got a GameCube. When I got the GameCube, I had Luigi's Mansion, some kind of, it was Wave Racer or something like that, some kind of jet ski racing game.
Is that the one that Scott was a master?
No, that's Hydro Thunder. Both Scott and I have a lot of nostalgic memories around that game. No, Hydro Thunder. But it wasn't that. Super Smash Bros. Melee, and I'm trying remember what that. There was one more that I got like when I got the console originally.
Sonic Adventure 2?
I did get that one later, but that was not what
Mario
it was.
Sunshine?
No, I never owned that one. Yeah.
Really? Mario Sunshine was great. I was on
It was.
GameCube.
No, but the thing is, I had to make some hard choices as a kid. Like, what do I buy? What do I rent? And that was
The real life choices.
it's important. What do I buy? What do I rent? I rented Mario Sunshine. I never actually. I did play it, but I just got it from Blockbuster.
Get out
which is
of Blockbuster,
yeah, that's dating this story.
Yeah, that's dating us. God, I think we spoke before. I think Blockbuster has one shop open still today, like somewhere in Canada.
Of course, it's in Canada. It's probably frozen in ice, so they can't close it down.
Yeah.
They tried to foreclose on it, but it's just too cold.
Yeah. Okay, what was your best game of all time then? Raven. The whole spectrum. Also, my camera's gone out.
Yeah.
What is it with you and Resident Evil? You just said you hated. Okay, fair.
Is that the one with the family, or is that the one with the booby lady?
It's the family.
Okay.
Lady Dimitrescu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never so this is something that's fairly we've discussed quite a few times, but horror movies, I can watch them no problem. Like in fact, most of the time I watch a horror movie, I'm bored because the whole point is to go in there and get scared. Horror games, I literally have a hard, I just can't play them.
Yeah.
Which
is the opposite for me.
Yeah, and we did a bit of a series where we're playing through Amnesia Rebirth, and every time it was my turn, God, there are probably multiple clips out there of there was some level where I was being chased around like an infirmary by one of them. Anyway, point being, I never played any of the Resident Evil games. No. I've not played a single one. The only time I ever play horror games is when somebody else forces me to. Like Kevin and I were doing through a co-op System Shock. Sorry, I cut you off.
Oh, yeah.
I would.
I raised that with Kaiser once, and I was like, "Do you reckon you're gonna be okay to play Outlast?" And we were like, "No, okay, we think that's just a bit too far." We'll build up to that, maybe build your tolerance.
Yeah, they're maybe in the future I'll do it, for the sake of the channel, but I can't. I would never seek out a horror. In fact, one classic game that I really wanted to beat was Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines, and I played through a good chunk of it until I hit it's a fairly I don't want to say famous, but it's like a what's the word? It's like a cult classic. Cult classic.
Oh, okay.
Where it's this RPG. You play as a vampire. You develop stats and skills and go on side quests and whatever. There's a level where you have to go into a haunted mansion and you're chased around by a ghost that will just pop up. It doesn't actually do anything to you, but at that quest I noped out and I haven't gone back to it yet. I want to beat it though because it's such a famous, it's such a
it's stuck in your mind clearly.
Yeah, I still think about it.
Yeah,
I remember the moment I decided to Alt F4 out of the game. It was like I turned a corner and this ghost just blinked up in my face. I'm just like, nope, done.
Nope, Alt F4. The with a lot of these horror games where they give you, in fact they do it quite a lot with Resident Evil, they give you very limited bullets and health packs, which is great because if you're terrified then you're going to get through that stuff like it's candy. And the same with Outlast, they give you batteries, right? the problem is when it gets so The Last of Us, you're both probably very well aware of The Last of Us. I was playing through that, the remastered on the PS4, and I was playing on, I think, the just below the hardest difficulty level. I basically didn't fire a shot or use a knife for the whole thing because I worked out that actually none of the enemies are faster than you. It's even the ones where, you know, the segments where you have to be quiet because it's the blind ones that can only hear. Yeah, the clickers, exactly. If you just run, they can't catch up with you. It takes all of the tension out of the scenario when instead of being like some sneaky ninja who's holding their breath around corners, you're just like streaking basically across a field with like all of them chasing you. And they never caught me.
It is funny you bring that game up because I have beat that game. I don't consider it a horror. It's like an action game in my opinion.
It's a baby's first horror game.
Because like, yeah, and I also played the remastered version on the PS4 because I never played it when it originally came out, and yeah, I had no problem with not for a single moment in that game was I scared. There was like the usual tension when you go through like a stealth section and you don't want to get caught.
Yeah,
but it wasn't the same kind of like, oh god, oh shit kind of feeling I have when I'm playing through a horror game.
You say that. Amnesia, the very first episode, we were in a dark... Okay, have you played Amnesia Rebirth or watched it, Raven? That's fair. When we played it, there's two of us. So, in the very first cave you go into, there's a mechanic where the longer you're in the dark, she gets freaked out and then, like, a face flashes in your face.
Baby check.
If you're just in the dark too long without putting your lantern up. That that face popping up on your screen when there's no actual enemies around you. I think you actually threw something in your room when that happened.
I did. Yep.
And there's not even an enemy for the first like 2 hours of gameplay. You were actually kind of, by the time you got to that point where there actually was an enemy, you were actually a lot more strong-willed to deal with it, just because you're expecting an enemy for 2 hours beforehand.
The tension got to me. Well, the other thing is that like kept coming up in those videos was that I was burning through matches and stuff to try and light things up, and Blue was getting annoyed because he wanted to conserve resources, and so he'd collect all the resources because he didn't need the light to not be a pussy, and then it got to me, and yeah, exactly.
We could be in a very well lit room with lanterns, oil lanterns all over the wall, and he will still use a match to light a candle in a well lit room. It's like, how fucking every time. So each session we'd switch over who's in control. So it would go from me having 0 matches to me having the max matches, which is like 9. I don't know why you can't carry more than 9 matches, by the way. And then it'll be gone by the time it comes back to me again.
To be fair, in the last few sessions we did of that game, I was holding on to things a lot more. Like, I'd gotten better.
Yeah. We still need to go back to finish that.
We really do, yeah. I've got a backlog of videos I need to edit. I need to get the Northman to actually render.
Yeah. Well, there's a Sea of Thieves video coming out with Raven in it.
That's true. That's about I want to say I'm about 40% through editing that video. So
40%. That was like 2 weeks ago.
I've been. I just started a new job.
You just got a new job. It's not good enough, Kaiser. Give us content.
Sorry, what'd you say, Raven?
Yeah.
Actually, no.
Making it rain.
Metal watch. This is a new watch.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
So I thought you were going to expand on that.
No, it's,
Look at my new watch.
the thing is, this one was actually, I've never got one of these ones that has like a mesh band before, and I actually really like it.
Do you use the watch? Or is it a fashion accessory?
I do actually check the time on the watch. Because
Okay.
a lot of the time, like, if, I don't feel like taking my phone out to check the time all the time. Or
Yeah.
more often than not, I just don't have my phone on me. So, I do use the watch, but it is also a fashion accessory.
I need to find a really fancy stopwatch, because I feel like that would be cool.
You mean like a pocket watch?
A pocket watch, yeah.
I've got 3 of
What
them.
did I say, stopwatch?
Yeah, I've got 3 of them hanging on the wall over there. Because whenever I wear, like, say there's a company party, formal dress, I wear a vest, and I always have a pocket watch.
I mean, you don't just turn up in your wife beater like normal.
Like I'm wearing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Are there any other games that we've been playing? We played that vampire game briefly.
Oh, V something.
V Survival.
V, yeah.
This is the classic scenario where Scott and Mass are like super excited for a game. They play it for a week, get everyone else into it,
And then they go
and
away.
then don't play it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because all the games have come out.
God.
But yeah, I'm expecting... We were meant to be playing that after we got to level 50 on everything, weren't we? But now we're Athena on Sea of Thieves. Which, by the way, we were gallioning the other night.
Hmm.
You know that mission that we were doing, Raven, where we killed all the ghosts fighting? The next part of that is fucking nails. We were in a galleon, and we got sank 3 times before giving up and going to bed.
To be fair, in the video that I'm editing, we took on a galleon and fucked it up.
Yeah. Those guys... Wait, was that the one where we just dominated them?
No, it wasn't that one. That was another one.
Okay.
But no, the one I'm talking about is the one where we both crashed into the island, but we crashed better than they did. And and so we like you and I boarded the ship while Raven desperately tried to keep our ship alive.
True.
Yeah. Whereas they
Crashing with style.
They did a completely uncontrolled crash right into the island, and then I blew their captain's head off with a shotgun.
Yeah, someone actually attacked me and Matt the other day when we were just doing a sloop. They got onto our ship, they threw firebombs, but the way they'd left their ship was in range of our cannons, perfectly lined up, so that they couldn't shoot us, but we could shoot them. So I got back on our ship, shot him in the head. He was the only player on their team, one person, attacking us. And we just sank his ship and fucked off. He didn't even... He just died. Like... What was the idea, my dude?
Big think.
They didn't even put a hole in our ship. They threw firebombs and then stood there while I bashed their head in with a shovel.
Big think.
People on Sea of Thieves, man. They drive me crazy.
Well, you get like 2 varieties. You get the hyper competent ones that completely fuck your shit up, and you get the totally incompetent ones that, you know, it feels like you're... I shouldn't say that out loud.
There's never... Yeah. We don't talk about that. I almost sunk our ship because I left the cooker on. And I did a reekaway.
Oh God, that's right. Yeah. Wait, have you told Raven this story?
No.
What
Raymond?
I said Raven.
Oh, so I said Raymond. I was like, no, I didn't tell Raymond.
So I'm assuming you haven't told Raymond either. So one of our friends, his girlfriend was, I think she was cooking carbon fiber in the oven. She's an architect. Don't worry about it. But and so He sent us a picture of like the entire house, their entire apartment was full of smoke. You couldn't see anything. She had forgotten about it in the oven, and like something had caught fire, or something like that. So we're like, oh god, are they? Because all we got was messages of just like the apartment and like full of smoke, and we didn't hear anything for like more than an hour. And it's like, are they alive? Yeah, but her name is Rikwe, which is what Blue was referencing there with the cooked shark.
Yeah, we didn't sync, to be fair. My cooked shark thing. Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing. We were doing the... You know how we never go to Volcano Lands? There's a reason for that. It is hell. It's so bad that when we went there to kill skeletons for a mission, the island killed more skeletons than we did.
So, question about Volcano Land. Did you happen to duel a Viking there in a thong? Reference to the Northmen.
Oh, right. Okay, I was like... in a thong?
Yeah, the end of the movie.
Yeah. There's a nice Viking with good tits.
Yeah, by the way, so when I was finishing up editing that video, by the way, there were multiple scenes where I'm like, oh, I'd flagged a thing. I'm like, I'm going to put clips of the movie in here. And I'm like, I listened to what we were talking about, and I'm like, no, YouTube won't like it if I put that clip here.
Yeah. When it comes to kids taking drugs.
Well, that or the pine cones of the butt scene, or the sex orgy in the forest, or the guy getting decapitated.
That was the same scene. Pine cones up the butt and sex orgy was the same scene.
But we talk about it in two different segments, so I would have shown different clips in either one, but both of them would have been bad.
Yeah. Who'd have thought? Vikings, not appropriate for YouTube.
And yet YouTube
thank
has...
God they don't hear... Sorry?
I was going to say, and yet YouTube has naked yoga.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness they don't review our Twitch channel. That's all I'm going to say on that. We say a lot of interesting things. Cool. Any closing thoughts, Kai?
For me, I'm ashamed that I like Diablo Immortal. I installed it on my phone, and I'm not sure how I feel about that.
We'll see what your thoughts are on it next week, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to stay the same.
I've only played like 2 hours of it, so we'll see how it goes.
Alright, and Raven, I guess we're going to be doing more Athenas. We'll Sea of Thieves. So that's... You're probably going to see videos of that on the channel at some point. Whenever Kaiser's in games with us. And not falling asleep at the wheel.
I fell asleep under the deck. I thought. Next to the...
No, you fell asleep at the wheel and then we brigged you.
That's what happened. Okay.
Middle of a fight. I was fighting with Raven, some skeletons. They came out of the ground around him and I was like, Raven, you gonna move? You gonna at least hit them back?
Well, wouldn't happen today. Considering how many pots of tea I've had, I'm gonna have trouble sleeping at all.
Oh, yeah. Cool, yeah, and...
Well,
I don't know,
and we need your final thoughts, Blue. You've asked me for mine, you've asked Raven for... Come on.
Raven, you're a pain in the ass to DM. No, I'm kidding. You're great. Oh, God, I don't know. You know what? I want you to do a one-shot at some point. Host a one-shot in D&D server. That's what I want. Hell yes, because 2 people have said so far they were going to do one-shots, and so far no one's done one. Excellent.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But also, I'm looking forward to playing more games and hopefully recording more with you.
Sounds good. All right. Well, this is going to be the end of episode 89 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again in 2 weeks.
Yar.